Hi, and welcome to the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast. I am Frankie George-mccullough, and the topics we have in these podcasts are intuition, self-fulfillment, and trusting yourself. You'll see that I will be perfectly frank, and please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast. Today, our topic is again taken from the book, The Man He's Stupid and the Girl She's So Bitch. The book, when we were doing the audio, we went off on these rants that I'm confident will resonate with all of you. Today, especially, we're talking about being uncomfortable and the uncomfortableness of decision makings or emotions or actions that we take. And that doesn't mean we're right or wrong when we're uncomfortable. It just means we're uncomfortable. I look forward to you enjoying this portion of the podcast.
There are things that we can do that will lead us to the best answer for us. I don't like the way this feels, and that uncomfortable feeling is okay. Sometimes you need to let yourself get more uncomfortable until you are really ready to start observing it.
I had a therapist once tell me something super useful, and it's exactly like what you're saying. He said, we have reactions to things, and he said it feels instantaneous. The thing happens, whatever it is, and we have a reaction. Let's just use anxiety, for instance. So this thing happens, and I have an immediate anxious reaction to it. I'm immediately anxious. He said the truth is that there is even a millisecond of space between the thing that happens and your reaction. It's so quick, so often that we don't sense it. We don't look for it because nobody told us that it's there. But there is a split second in between the thing that happens, the stimulus, and our response. He said, if you just tune yourself into the fact that you do have a second to choose, to really look at what happened and to choose, you might still become anxious, but it gives you a moment to know that you still have power, that you really do have the power to kind of decide how you're going to let this thing affect you. And that you're not wrong no matter what way you go. It's ultimately a lesson to you, or there's something on offer for you, no matter how you decide to respond to it. But there really is a little space in there. And when you start paying attention to it, you can make it a little bit longer and a little bit longer so that you have a moment to really choose how you want to feel. What do I want to feel here so that I'm not then at the effect of everything that happens the instant that it happens?
So in what Cheri was saying, what we need to know as human beings is that catching that moment takes some time. Like you might have all this anxiety for days and days and days before you catch that moment. But then the next time you might have anxiety for only days and days before you catch that moment. And then the next time you may only have days before you catch that moment. And what we want is an instant response. As being human, we can get that response, although it will take practice on at least one thing. And this is where this phrase I use, the way we do anything is the way we do everything. Once you catch it in one thing and you get a hold of it, you can catch it in everything. So understanding how we operate as human beings, it's okay. It's okay if it takes days and days and days. What is not okay, and in religion we call it sin, what's not okay in this practice is not the act of it, it's not catching it so that we don't continue to repeat it. It's the repetition of something that causes a bigger problem. It is not the thing. If we can catch it and shorten it until it no longer becomes the thing, then we'll operate in that space with everything because now we know how to catch it. So in light of what Cheri's therapist said, which makes so much sense to me, as we can back ourselves up, we cannot catch it alone. We often need the help. Again, you know I'm going to say this a lot. We need each other. We need the help of another person. Even if that other person is critical, we still need the help to purge it, to get it out, to talk to the stranger. As my mother would say, if you talk to the stranger, they're going to hear your story, only your story. They're going to tell you, I love you, yeah, it's okay. But if you talk to a friend, sometimes they're going to be critical because they know your path. And we remember those old things. People from my past are going to remember I didn't used to keep my word. They're going to remember that don't make plans with me because I'm probably not going to show up, right? I didn't know why I wasn't showing up. Now I do know why. But people remember those past behaviors. It's hard for them to get comfortable with this new behavior in you. So they continue to go, oh, no, that's not her. I just remember this. Although as you change with time, whether they see it or not, they can come up to you and it will bounce off. And you can go, okay, you remember that? That's okay. That's not who I am.
Is that why a lot of people are saying they're losing friends? Because maybe you're being taken advantage of because of something familiar you did all the time, which was saying yes to everything. And now you're saying no. So it's like you've changed. You're not the same person.
That's not the only reason. And yes, that's the reason. So in understanding that, the reason friends are walking away from you is because they don't want to move forward with you. They want to see you in that old way. They cannot move forward with you, and they're like a weight, a 200-pound weight that you have to drag. And so you just say, I'm going to put that down, and now I don't have to carry it anymore. You know, in the metaphysical world, we'd cut the cord. Mm-hmm. We'd imagine that a scissors is cutting a cord, and not to cut them off from us, just to set them free, allowing them to have their own experience without attaching ourselves to their experience. So how can I love you anyway? I got to leave you on the side of the road.
And people like for us to stay in the roles that they are comfortable seeing us in. They like for us to stay in that role. Mm-hmm. Those people who may remember you as the person who didn't show up, they like you in that role. Absolutely. As the person who didn't show up. What happens when you don't show up? Everybody gets to talk about the fact that you didn't show up, exactly. Right? You know, there's something people really like for us to stay in the roles that they are comfortable with.
Because they need to make somebody wrong.
Yeah. So then when we change, there's just this like natural attrition, you know, that people just fall off because we change and they don't like us in this new position of, you know, you always showing up or, you know, saying no when you mean no or, you know, saying yes when you really mean yes. They don't like it. So they will begin to naturally fall off. And while that might feel like a loss at first, then you'll realize how much lighter you are, like you said, because you're dragging them along.
Well, it's the first no is always the hardest. But when you realize there's really nothing,
nobody died.
Nobody died.
You said no.
Nothing horrible happened.
And if I can make
you feel better.
Right. And if I can make an observation from my own life, you know, people say, well, you don't make new friends as you get older. That's baloney. What will happen is you now have this wonderful space and you like some of it and some of it you want to fill. And you can at your will. At your will. And so you understand this vibration, this frequency, and then all of a sudden the frequency starts to come together and there's a beautiful vibration that happens. And that's that new person, you know. And so we talk about, I have this issue making new friends. You know, you can't connect with someone if they don't want to connect with you. You know, although you can still make a connection. Just, you know, yeah, they don't want to connect with me in that way. I'm going to let it be. I'm not going to try and force fit it. I'm going to let it be. And oh my gosh, look what showed up. Right? Mm-hmm. Look what showed up.
Exactly right. Yep.
I feel like that there's a stress on that with younger people dating too. Like, I feel like women put up with a lot of shit because they're so scared to say no, because a few pages back, just like we discussed, you're scared you may never find another man. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's security in saying no and knowing, okay, maybe I won't. I love myself. It doesn't matter. And then, you know, the right person generally will come after that, right?
You can always, 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 always have what you want. It's always at hand. Mm-hmm. If this guy wasn't the right one for you and he broke off for whatever reason, you know, or if he beats the shit out of you and you're like, I want to get out of this, but I'm too afraid because I'd rather have a guy and have him beat the shit out of me than not be out. Same with men. You know, I'd rather have a woman that I can walk all over and be and disrespect, or I'd rather have a woman that took care of me financially, but I'm unhappy. We have the privilege to draw to us constantly what we want through this thing called faith, through this knowing, through trusting the process. Mm-hmm. All we need is the clarity to know, yes, I want to have somebody, not that's so good looking and so fabulous and makes a lot of money. I want to have someone that makes me feel really good about me, someone that I can give that back to. I want to have someone in my life that lights me up and that I light up. I want someone that enjoys their life doing what they do. I want a level of security, financial and emotional security. If we can get to that clarity space on anything, even that woman that could never get pregnant, doesn't mean a child won't arrive. It can come through my sister, said I'll be your surrogate. It can come through adoption. It can come through foster care. It can come through, a neighbor who's like struggling with illness and needs someone to watch her children. It can come so many ways. And we must surrender or be willing to surrender that this is the way it was supposed to come to us. My children were supposed to be my children. Mm-hmm. That's all there is to it. And as human beings, male or female, if we come from this space of love and faith, F-A-I-T-H, F like Frank, if we can come from this space is a surrender. It's like, okay, you got this. And the reason you got it is because I'm clear.
Right.
If I'm not clear, I'm going to get that frequency coming in every 10 minutes I get this nice vibration. And then, right? And it happens to all of us. It happens to every single one of us, whether we're enlightened or not. And all of us are enlightened, just aren't awake to it. It happens to us. Part of it's kind of like the drama triangle, just a different way of putting it. It's that clarity and it's fear. All of us have it. I have it too. I have to have a conversation with them. What are you afraid of? Why are you afraid of that? I have to call somebody to pull me out of it. So
when you're saying you have to be comfortable with what's not comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. Be willing to say no, but also understand you don't control the reaction. Mm-hmm. So also, I have empathy for how you're feeling. That sucks for you, but don't give into the tantrum and leave the situation. I mean, if you have to walk away, you have to walk away, right? Because again, you'll start to believe, I am a bad person for saying no. Oh my God, I feel so guilty. Like that mom guilt too. Oh my God, the mom guilt kills me.
Oh, the mom guilt is terrible.
I have to be willing to walk away when he's throwing a tantrum.
We're going to have mom guilt all the time. Although really our job is just to show them how to do this thing called life. The bigger problem is that we do it by showing them what was done with us.
Right.
Instead of, I have chosen, as I've shared, to step away from what everybody else has done. My kid doesn't want to do homework. I get it. I don't blame you, dude. Right. Okay, you're brilliant. Homework is not going to make you any smarter, but you being creative and finding the things you like. My son at 15 wants to hang out in the bed all day. Oh, somebody help me. I got to go, it's not my shtick. He's going to show up. Mm-hmm. He's figuring out how to be a teenager and all these emotions. I don't know what's going on inside of him. People go, well, you need to force him. Are you kidding me?
Oh, God.
I don't want the conflict. He doesn't want the conflict. I want to show him through love. I want to let him know I'm there. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And neither does he. And each one is different. Each one. So I don't want to be like you and do it your way and force my kid and insist you. I want to nudge you. Hey, have you ever thought of this? Have you considered this? And then all of a sudden they're doing stuff like, shit, you're working out now? I didn't know that's what you were doing in your room with the door closed all that time and the music playing really loud, right? I don't know that you're grooming yourself. Like, really? You're really like taking a shower every day? What I do know is that this particular child, both of my children know that I'm coming from love. What I do know is they know that I'm coming from my truth, not from what society has paved for me. And clearly, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trusting. I have faith that this source energy is guiding me, and it's serving me, and it's serving my child and anybody else that's in the path, period. That's how I choose to do it. I got to tell you, man, it's so much easier. It's no pushback. There's no war. There's no war.
The war doesn't really get you anywhere anyway.
No.
What the war gets you is teenagers that are still going to do whatever they want to do, and they're going to resent the crap out of you while they're doing it, and might even be pushed to be even more rebellious because now it is war, right. So they have to show you what's what.
And listen, I don't care what you tell a child, no, don't do that drug, don't drink that drink. They're going to do it. I'd rather say, okay, listen, I'm not going to be stupid. I don't know what you're going to do, but you need to know you don't have to be afraid. Call me whenever you want. If you freak out, I'll be there. Okay? I won't beat the shit out of you for 4 or 5 days, but I'm sure.
I always told my older stepsons, like, tell them your stepmom's a bitch. Tell them that she's going to give me a drug test. Tell them, like, just say, like, I'm scared to death. My dad's going to beat me. I don't care. Say whatever you have to say to, like, get it off of your shoulders and put it on mine.
I'm happy to be your excuse.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I have a child that is not legally mine who is now 40 years old, and he got busted for drinking and driving. And so he calls me up. He goes, Mom, I'm in jail. Can you come get me out? I said, no. He goes, what do you mean, no? I said, I'm not going to get you out. I'll come get you tomorrow. But what? I don't know what's going to happen to me in here. I'm like, I don't either. Should have thought about that before. Got there. So then he gets busted again, this time for smoking weed, right? Oh. And he says to the cell guy, he goes, do you want to call somebody? He goes, no, they're not going to do anything for me anyway.
I'll call her tomorrow after I did my 24 hours.
Was when we went to court, and the judge is, saying, this is not, I don't know what the law is. One time you're done. My son goes, listen, nothing you're going to do to me is going to be half as bad as what she's going to do. And he's saying this outside in the court. I'm like, oh my God, I was so like. But the fact that, and I asked him, what did you mean by that? He goes, I know that your goal is to keep me on a straight line. I know that's your goal. And I know that you know my life experience. And I'm grateful. That doesn't mean I'm not going to walk stupid. But it does mean that I'm so grateful that you love me no matter what, that I feel like I have this safe place in you. That's important. Mm-hmm. That's important. And I think it matters not only to him, but to me and to all the people that know me. That, I'm sure I have people that judge me and all that kind of stuff. That's on them, not on me. So I think that once we can get through the mom guilt, right? And let ourselves have that emotion that we have.
So many layers. Mom guilt is like, into the core of the earth. Yeah. There are layers and layers and layers. And it doesn't stop when they're grown up either. No. It doesn't stop. But that's judgment. And what we're talking about here is the willingness to do it differently. All of it. The willingness to be a mother differently, to be a friend differently, to love ourselves differently.
To feel guilty differently.
To
be okay with the guilt.
To react differently, to respond differently. Like with this thing that my therapist, told me about, how you respond to things. And you're so right that it's not always the first time. And sometimes it takes days. And sometimes then you can do it a little quicker and a little quicker and a little quicker. What you have to realize is that, that's not any different than using new muscles to do things. And we have a lot of muscle memory. We do things by muscle memory. Why is it so frustrating to get a new phone? Because your fingers want to do on that phone what they always did on the other phone. Mm-hmm. And it's the same as if you've always driven an automatic and then all of a sudden now you have to drive a stick. You have muscle memory in your body, in your mind, in your chemistry that says this is how you do it. And then we get really frustrated because now we have to do it differently. But it's the same, that we got used to doing it by doing it over and over and over again.
Or you could be like me and pay someone to.
I'm getting there.
Henry Ford, thank you. Hi, guys. So as you've listened to this podcast, the mom guilt thing is pretty intense. And it's just not just moms, but moms tend to go into that guilt space a little bit more obviously than most people. And guilt is a problem because it's an awful feeling, but it doesn't mean you're doing something right or wrong. It just means that you're acting in accordance with a behavior you're familiar with. If you just slow down, and before you react to doing something that makes you feel guilty, like I'm going to go to work, or I'm going to leave the kids with a babysitter, or I'm going to feed them a half hour later, and you realize that it's for the good of everyone, because in many ways you're also taking care of yourself. And when you do that in every way, you're really considering everybody else in your life. When you consider just that person, even your infant baby, you're putting yourself aside. That's going to make you more anxious, more uncomfortable. It's going to make you uncomfortable in either case, but I would offer you the thought that if it's going to take you just a minute longer before you get to satisfying that child, take that minute for yourself, because in the end, you're going to feel better about how you deal with your child. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to feel guilty. What's not okay is to put yourself aside in order to not feel those things. It's so important to take care of yourself. Excuse me. You'll find in your own life that when you take care of you, you're a kinder person. Yes, people might get mad at you because they're unfamiliar with you not saying yes. Your child may cry because you still have to put something down before you can get to feeding them. That's not a good or bad thing. It's just that's that child's experience. If you take care of yourself first, though, when you sit down for that child to take care of that child, you're going to give that child 100% attention. And you'll notice that, as we had discussed, that there's a space between what I feel and how I react. And if you can catch that space, slow down and go, okay, I need to feed this kid. The kid's hungry. I really need to get that done, but I just need to finish the unloading of this laundry so it doesn't overwhelm me. And I can finish that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to let the baby cry. It's okay. It's going to be uncomfortable. And I'm going to complete this task. And now I can sit down and not react. I can enjoy the feeding of this child. And all is going to be good. And then you're not overwhelmed. You're creating the space for you. You're actually creating the space for you to be more calm in the uncomfortableness. And that's a valuable commodity. This is one way to be good to yourself. I believe that there's a truth, and it has been told us in many religions, that source energy, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, lives inside of you as you. That's so cool. So when you honor you, you're honoring God, source energy, the universe, whatever you want to call it. You're honoring this wonderful energy that has given us opportunity to choose and to create and to make our lives happen, to be at peace most of the time, and to observe that the uncomfortableness is neither good nor bad. It's just uncomfortable. We as humans, and you're going to hear me say this a lot as I continue to tell you, need each other. Although we especially need ourselves. And we have to take that time to really observe ourselves, slow down with ourselves. See, does that make me happy? Does that make me unhappy? Just an example for me, when I get into that thinking space that feels icky, and I start to go, oh my gosh, my body aches. Maybe I have to have surgery. When I back up and I go, no, I have my solution. I'm working out. It's all working good. And I can feel how happy I get. That gives me a sign in that sense of happiness that I'm on the right track. For now, maybe in a year from now, I'll have a surgery. Maybe I won't. But for now, I like to get to that feeling space of, yeah, I like this. I like where I'm going with this. I tend to trust that. I have a tremendous faith. I really believe that this energy, source energy, God, universe, whatever you call it, I really believe this space is guiding me every step of the way. And when I trust it, I can let it be. When I'm anxious or feeling guilty or shame or not taking care of myself first, then it gets overwhelming. Just a thought for you. This is just a thought on how you might want to process for yourself. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast about being uncomfortable. You'll find this information in the book, The Man He's Stupid and the Girl She's So Bitch. Please visit the I Am Perfectly Frank website. Ask questions, make comments. I really look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to answering your questions or responding to your comments. Thank you. Have a great day. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us today on this podcast. By the way, at the I Am Perfectly Frank website, you can find information about all the stuff I've been doing for the last 40 years. We treat pain patterns. We are coaches. We do intuitive work. We also do massage. We also help you understand what your pain is telling you so that you don't have it anymore. Anyways, again, check out the IamPerfectlyFrank.com website, and thank you for joining us today.